Can a Christian learn something useful from a book about building wealth? Yes, if he learns with discernment. The Secrets of the Millionaire Mind can remind us that money is not only handled with the hands. It is also shaped by thoughts, habits, fears, desires, and assumptions. It can expose patterns of irresponsibility, scarcity thinking, poor stewardship, and passive living. It can push a person to ask whether his financial life is being governed by wisdom or by confusion. But here is the danger. A book can teach you to think differently about money, while still leaving your heart centered on money. And the Bible does not merely ask, "Are you wealthy?" It asks, "Who is your master?" So the real question is this: how can we receive what is wise, reject what is dangerous, and bring our view of money back under the rule of God? The main idea of the book is that people do not become financially stable only by learning techniques. They also live from an inner pattern. The book calls this a financial blueprint. In simple terms, it means that many people repeat what they learned about money through family, fear, failure, comparison, or desire. Before they ever make a budget, start a business, save, invest, or give, they already carry assumptions about what money means. Some see money as safety, some see it as power, some see it as evil, some see it as proof that they matter. That is why this topic matters biblically, because money is never just math. It reveals trust, worship, contentment, fear, wisdom, and obedience. So we are not only examining financial habits, we are examining the heart that uses them. Scripture does not praise carelessness. Proverbs chapter 21 verse 5 says, "The plans of the diligent lead surely to plenty, but those of everyone who is hasty, surely to poverty." This is where a book like The Secrets of the Millionaire Mind can seem helpful. It tells people to stop living passively. It challenges disorder. It says that thoughts matter, patterns matter, habits matter, and repeated choices shape outcomes. There is truth in that. A person who never examines his thinking may keep repeating the same financial mistakes. A person who refuses discipline may call it misfortune when it is partly disorder. A person who never plans may suffer from decisions he never wanted to face. Biblically, diligence is not greed. Planning is not unbelief. Stewardship is not worldliness. But the attraction becomes dangerous when discipline is treated as lordship and money becomes the proof of wisdom. But Scripture also warns us that the heart can be trained in the wrong direction. Luke chapter 12 verse 15 says, "Take heed and beware of covetousness, for one's life does not consist in the abundance of the things he possesses." That sentence confronts one of the deepest dangers in financial self-help. The danger is not learning discipline. The danger is slowly believing that a greater financial life means a greater life. When wealth becomes the measure of progress, the soul begins to count the wrong things. More income can start to feel like more identity. More possessions can start to feel like more security. More success can start to feel like more worth. And then money is no longer a tool under God. It becomes a mirror where the heart looks for value. That is the first crack. Jesus makes the issue sharper. Matthew chapter 6, verse 24 says, "No one can serve two masters. You cannot serve God and mammon." He does not say money is useless. He does not say money cannot be managed, earned, saved, invested, or used for good. Scripture gives wisdom about work, planning, generosity, debt, inheritance, and provision. But Jesus goes beneath behavior. He confronts lordship. This is where the biblical lens must correct the millionaire mindset. The question is not only whether a person has a rich mind or a poor mind. The deeper question is whether the mind, the desires, and the financial life are submitted to Christ. Because a disciplined person can still serve money. A successful person can still be covetous. A wealthy person can still be poor toward God. So financial growth is not the highest evidence of wisdom. Faithful obedience to Christ is. This is the conflict. The book says, in different ways, that your inner pattern must change if your outer results are going to change. The Bible agrees that the mind must be renewed. Romans chapter 12, verse 2 says, "And do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind." But biblical renewal is not merely replacing poor thoughts with wealthy thoughts. It is replacing worldly thoughts with thoughts submitted to God. That means the Christian does not ask only, "How can I become richer?" He asks, "How can I be faithful with what God has entrusted to me?" He does not ask only, "How can I increase?" He asks, "What must I obey?" Because the goal of renewal is not a larger bank account. The goal is a life no longer conformed to this world, but surrendered to God. So the Christian must separate wisdom from worship. There is wisdom in examining your financial habits. There is wisdom in rejecting laziness, confusion, waste, fear, and excuses. There is wisdom in learning to plan, work, save, give, and act with responsibility. But there is danger when the self becomes the center. Biblical order does not begin with, "I can create the life I want." It begins with, "I belong to God." That changes everything. Money is no longer the servant of personal glory. It becomes part of stewardship before the Lord. Work is no longer merely a path to status. It becomes service. Increase is no longer proof that God approves everything in us. It becomes a responsibility to handle with fear, humility, and generosity. The issue is not whether money grows. The issue is whether obedience grows with it. This also protects us from two opposite errors. The first error is despising money, as if poverty itself made the heart pure. Scripture does not teach that. A poor person can still love money, envy wealth, resent others, and distrust God. The second error is exalting money, as if wealth itself proved wisdom, maturity, or divine favor. Scripture does not teach that either. A rich person can be disciplined, but still ruled by greed. He can be successful, but still spiritually asleep. So the biblical contrast is not rich versus poor. It is faithful versus unfaithful, content versus covetous, steward versus master. The Christian is not called to worship poverty, and he is not called to worship prosperity. He is called to worship God and handle money as something temporary, useful, dangerous, and accountable to him. So here is the biblical correction. Do not let a book about wealth teach you what only God can define. Money can be managed, but it cannot give life. Wealth can increase, but it cannot cleanse the heart. Discipline can improve habits, but it cannot save the soul. 1 Timothy chapter 6, verse 6 says, "Now godliness with contentment is great gain." That is the correction many financial messages need. Great gain is not first a number. It is godliness with contentment before God. So receive practical wisdom where it is truly wise. Examine your habits. Correct disorder. Stop making excuses. Practice diligence. Learn stewardship. But never let the pursuit of increase become the center of your life. A Christian does not renew his mind to become ruled by money. He renews his mind to become more obedient to God. The final warning is simple. Do not baptize ambition and call it wisdom. Do not rename covetousness as vision. Do not measure spiritual maturity by financial increase. God may give resources, and God may also test the heart by withholding what the flesh wants. In both places, the call is the same. Trust Christ, obey Him, and handle what you have as His steward. Learn what is useful, reject what is false. Submit your financial life to the Lord, because the biblical goal is not to think like a millionaire. It is to think as a servant of God, a servant who depends on Christ, works diligently, gives generously, lives contentedly, and refuses to let money sit on the throne where only the Lord belongs.